Hi everyone, welcome back to our Little Slaw YouTube channel. And if you're new here, I'm Vasant Shanmugam and I love making tech simple and practical. So what are we going to see today? And in fact, I must say this. So yesterday we talked about what an Azure Virtual Machine is, and we have got a lot of support from you people, a lot of feedback from you people that it was well received. Thank you so much for that. And today we're going to see about the next topic which I have talked to you. So before that, let me give you a quick recap of what Azure Virtual Machine is. So think of it like renting a computer in the cloud. So you don't need to buy the hardware. Instead, you just spin it up when you need it and you get a virtual machine. So today we're going to talk about how to actually create one. So we talked about what a virtual machine is, and now we're going to see about how to create one. And here's the thing, there is not just one way to do it. There are multiple methods, each with its own vibe, own way of doing it. So whether you love clicking buttons, or if you're good in writing code, or if you are good in automating everything like a wizard, then there's a method for you. And let's break it down in a way that's very easy to understand. So now let's see the very first technique. The first technique is the Azure portals, the click and go method. And let's start with the most beginner friendly method, the Azure portal. And this is like shopping online. So you log in, click create VM, you choose the options like size, region, OS, and once you click go, once you hit go, you have your virtual machine ready, no matter which operating system it is. Like it can be a Windows, it can be a Linux, it can be even a Mac OS, it can be a Unix, and even any version of it. Like say for example, it can be a Windows 2019, it can be even Windows 2022, 2025, Windows 11, Windows 10, Windows Data Center, Data Server. No matter what you need, you will get it after you choose all the options like size, region, OS, and once you hit go, you will get your VM ready. So why this method is great? So why it is great, or why this method of creating the VM is great? So the first thing is, it is very super visual, like it's very GUI friendly. When I say GUI, it's graphical user interface friendly, and it is easy to use. You don't need to bother about coding. No coding is required, and it's very great for learning and testing. So if you're someone who is in your learning phase, or if you're someone who is in your testing phase, then this method is very easy. And let me tell you the drawbacks as well. So why it is limited, why creating the VM using ClickOps is limited is you have to repeat the steps again and again. For each and every time you have to repeat all the steps from the beginning, and it is not ideal for someone who wants to create 10 VMs, or if someone wants to automate things, and there is no way to track like what you did, right? So all these are the drawback. So the real world analogy is, it's like manually setting up your phone every time you buy a new one. Fine once or twice, but imagine doing it for like 100 phones. It's too much of a mess, right? So that's the same thing about like operations. The second way is creating through ARM template, which is the blueprint method. And you're going to use the ARM templates for that. So these are like blueprints which is written in JSON. So what you're going to do is you describe what you want, like the VM size, the operating system, the network, and the Azure will build it for you. And now we'll see why it is powerful. So Azure templates, the ARM templates are inbuilt of Azure. So say for example, you cannot use, I'll explain that in the limitations, but still these ARM templates, so basically they are the Azure Resource Manager templates. They are the inbuilt tool or inbuilt templates of Azure. So now let me tell you why it is powerful. It is repeatable, and it is in fact very consistent. So that's the major advantage of using ARM template. It is very great for large teams. Yes, if you're working for a large team, then ARM templates are very useful, and it works well with automation tools. So if you're someone who is using automation tools, so it works well with those automation tools. And why it is trickier, what are the limitations, are the syntax is very hard to read. Yes, I definitely agree with this. The syntax are very, very hard to read. since it comes in JSON, and then the debugging is very painful. You will definitely struggle a lot to debug it, and it is not beginner friendly. So if you're someone who is a beginner, ARM templates, I will say, is not a cup of tea for you. So it's not beginner friendly. And the real world analogy is, imagine giving a contractor a detailed blueprint to build a house. It's precise, I understand, but it is not easy to sketch unless you are trained. So that's the drawback about ARM template. And now the third technique is using Bicep. This is a blueprint again, but it's a very cleaner method. Now here's the modern upgrade, that is the Bicep. So it's like ARM template, but it's way easier to write and understand. Yes, so that's more advantageous. Well, again, Bicep is open source component as well, so you can easily write it in open source. You don't need to pay for that Bicep one. So why it is awesome? It's very clean and it has readable syntax. It has great tooling support as well, and it still uses the Azure's native engine. Like I told you, it uses the ARM's engine, so it still uses the Azure's native engine. So in what ways is this Bicep not perfect? It is still evolving. As I told you, this is the very recent or latest member in building the infrastructure as code, so it's still evolving. And again, you need to learn a new language. Yes, there are already a lot of languages that we have to learn, and again, this is a new language to learn. Yes, so the analogy is, if ARM templates are blueprints which are drawn with rulers and pencils, Bicep is like using a design app with drag and drop tools. So same result, but just a little bit of headache. Yeah. And now the fourth one, my favorite one, that's the HashiCorp Terraform. So this is something like a universal remote method. Why I say it is universal is, this Terraform does not work with only Azure. It works with AWS, it works with Google, it works with cloud, and it works with any cloud environment. So if you learn Terraform once, you know how it works. Say for example, the for each, the if loop, the defining the variables and everything. So you're going to use the same thing for the other cloud as well. In fact, the names will change. Say for example, here it is VM, and in Azure it is VM, in Amazon it is AWS, and in Google it calls in a different EC2. In GCP it's in a different name. But apart from that, the Terraform, the methods are also always same. So why it is flexible? Why Terraform is flexible? Again, Terraform comes from a very big organization called HashiCorp. They are like the top in the market in terms of Terraform, in terms of giving various support to the internet, to the cloud related topics. Like they have HashiCorp Vault, and now Terraform is the market leader in terms of building the applications with the code. And why it is flexible? Why Terraform is flexible? It's again I'm saying, it's one tool for cloud. So if you learn Terraform, you are going to use it everywhere. It is modular and it is reusable. Yes, you can reuse it. If you build it for one application, you can actually reuse it for any application that you want, if it has the same design or something. So it has a huge community support, and in fact it even has the HashiCorp support if you are enrolling for the HashiCorp Terraform HashiCorp Enterprise one. So again, you get it. Recently I have heard the news that no more HashiCorp is going to be like for free. It's going to be completely paid one. But anyways, let's look at we have to adapt it to it. And why it is complex? Why the Terraform is complex? So you have to manage the state files. Yes, I will definitely take you through what is the state file is and how difficult it is to manage it. But it's a main drawback. But yeah, in fact it's fun to use the state files and everything, so that's really good. And some Azure features take time to show up. Yes, because they are not built on Azure engine, so it takes some time to show up the features and to show up the components, and it has a very steeper learning curve. Yes, once you start learning Terraform, you will have a very steeper learning curve. And using Terraform is like having one remote that controls your TV, AC, and lights, and it's very super convenient. But the setting up time will take a lot of effort. And then we have the Azure CLI and PowerShell. So these are the inbuilt one. Yeah, Azure CLI, as the name implies, it's part of the Azure. So they are the command line method. If you like working in the terminal, this one is easy for you. So Azure CLI and PowerShell let you create your VMs using commands. So you can just type AZ login. You can log into the machine. If you type AZ create whatever the code, the way that you want to create, you can easily create it. And it is very fast and scriptable. It is very great for automation, and it is easy to integrate into pipelines. So these are the advantages of using the Azure CLI. And why it is limited? So the same way it has advantages, yes. Azure CLI also has disadvantages as well. Yes, it is not visual, so you will not understand what is happening until you complete the code, and it is very harder to manage very complex setups. So they are very easy with Terraform and the ARM or even click operations, but in terms of Azure CLI, yes, it's very harder to manage complex setups, and it even requires scripting language as well. Yes, you have to learn Azure CLI and PowerShell. Yes, so it needs scripting language, and it is like, again, using shortcuts on your keyboard instead of clicking menus. It is very efficient, but you need to know the commands, right? That's so simple. And then finally, the SDKs and APIs. So the developers playground method, and finally we have got SDKs and APIs. So this is for developers who want to create VMs from inside their apps or custom tools. And why is it powerful? Why the SDKs and APIs are powerful is they have full control on what they do, and you have actually full control on what you're doing, and you can even control anything, and it can be dynamic, and even it can be customized as well. So you can have a dynamic and customized set of code and statements, and then it supports multiple languages. And why it is, in what way are they limited? In what way do we think that it cannot be used in some scenarios? Is they require coding skills, and most of the time, most of the limitations that I have discussed so far requires coding skills. Yes, you need to learn that, right? So it's so easy now, and it's more complex to maintain. Yes, that's very true, and it is not ideal for infrastructure teams. So the analogy about this SDKs and APIs is, it's like building your own vending machine that dispenses the VMs when someone clicks a button. It looks cool, but definitely it's not for beginners. So these are the ways you can create the VMs. These are the several different ways, the proven, the workable way. In our next video, we're going to see how to create your first virtual machine using just click operations. I'll show you how to create it. It's so simple, it's so cool, and see you all in our next video. Until then, it's bye-bye from Vasanth Shanmugam and your favorite Little Sla YouTube channel. Take care and bye-bye.